The beautiful, tranquil scenery of Vancouver Island, British Columbia. The surf, the beach, the ancient forests. It's just what the doctor ordered for about 1 million people, they tell me, that drop by here every year. But there's another group of folk that I think might describe the lifestyle here with one word: boring. It's not exciting enough. They wouldn't be caught dead here. Well, to each his own. However, it's a good way to describe a car company and a car we're about to drive. The car company is Subaru, always a niche player, but the people who love them, and the people who don't, well, they just don't. Well, Subaru's hoping that the 4th generation Forester, once known as a boxy wagon, will, and dare I say, move the company and this car closer to the mainstream.
Well, we were a niche player. We are specialized with small all-wheel drive vehicles with a limited product lineup, but I would suggest today we're not a niche player at all. We're playing in all the major segments, and last year we had a fantastic year. We sold over 31,000 vehicles. That no longer, in my mind, classifies as a niche player.
Everybody knows the SUV market is hot. Well, this week on Test Drive, we take a look at the newest, the Subaru Forester.
We introduced the vehicle back in 1997, very practical vehicle. It delivered great control, outstanding safety, amazing amount of functionality. What we've been able to do is retain all of those attributes and just build on them and make it into a vehicle now that is just so much more stylish. It's clearly positioned no longer as a boxy wagon, but as a real SUV.
Now, for you fishermen, don't leave home without Forester protection. It'll keep you safe from black flies, mosquitoes, CRVs and RAV4s. CRVs?
We've improved our core attributes for this vehicle, safety being one and performance being the other. Now with the exterior styling, what we've done is we've brought that more into the mainstream in hopes of, it appealing to a wider audience.
Subaru has always been committed to full-time all-wheel drive, but over the years it has resulted in poor fuel economy numbers, but not anymore.
It's a 2-liter direct injection twin scroll turbo, produces 250 horsepower and just delivers this outstanding performance.
Well, I love the turbo personally. I think it's bold and aggressive. It stands out, but for me, it's what's underneath the skin that really makes a difference. It's the direct injection twin scroll turbo.
Engine response is fantastic. They love the transmission in this vehicle. In the past, people have had this perception that, well, if you get an all-wheel drive vehicle, you're going to make a sacrifice on fuel economy. No longer true at all.
Along with a 6-speed transmission, you can bet that Subaru dealers are thrilled to have a Forester to sell that actually has a power liftgate. And this one does have a memory, so you can adjust the height to meet your own personal needs. And you can operate it from a button on the dash and also from the key fob.
It's a little wider, it's a little taller, it's a little longer. But what we've done is, for the interior dimensions, it's actually grown much more on the inside. So in terms of packaging and usable space, it's grown a lot more on the inside than the outside. We've just made everything a little easier for people to use, for everyday use. It looks nicer, materials are better, and in terms of cargo space, with the rear seats folded down, we are top of the class.
I like the interior in this Forester. It's not exciting, but it's comfortable, well-appointed, and you could spend some time in here. But a couple of pet peeves. One is the backup camera, or at least the display screen. It's too small and it's too far away from the driver. It's very distracting. The second is the radio. I mean, these climate controls are terrific, but look at this radio. It's small, little fiddly little buttons. It's old, and it doesn't match the rest of what is a premium vehicle. My suggestion: next generation, blow this away and come up with something more functional like the rest of this car.
We've actually enhanced the all-wheel drive system to provide better control under all driving conditions, including off-road. 220 millimeters of ground clearance. That is class leading. That's a huge amount of ground clearance. It's never designed, this vehicle, to be an off-road vehicle, but it can handle basically anything you throw at it. Recent vehicles we've introduced to the marketplace, like the XV Crosstrek, the Subaru BRZ, Both of those, over 80% of those customers are brand new to the Subaru brand. And I think the Forester, with its new design and outstanding performance, is going to attract more people to Subaru, and they'll discover Subaru for the first time.
When you buy a Jeep today, it does what it's supposed to do, but frankly, you don't have to suffer for it inside.
You see a speed limit sign on this road? Doesn't need one. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
To quote a song, you don't have to take your clothes off to have fun. On this edition of Test Drive, the fast and fancy Audi S6. Talking about clothes, or in this case the sheet metal the S6 wears, the body is now made of 20% aluminum, including sheet and cast aluminum components. It is, as a result, much lighter than the outgoing model. This and the adoption of a new twin-turbo V8, which replaces the previous V10, delivers a ride that can only be described as energetic. The twin-turbo 4-litre V8's 420 horsepower is more than ample by any measure, but it's the torque figure that really makes a difference. 405 pound-feet of torque anywhere between 1400 and 5200 RPM. This gives the S6 a very fast tip-in response and an enviable turn of speed. The reason is simple. The horsepower peaks just 300 RPM after the torque, and it keeps pulling right the way through to 6400 RPM. This Audi A6 really is a very capable car. It is a full-on sports sedan and it is a high-end luxury sedan at the same time. It pampers its riders, yet you drop the hammer, it's got the power, the handling and the grip. Well, it's just tenacious. The power is relayed to the road through Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system and a 7-speed twin-clutch transmission that features paddle shifters that work regardless of whether the shifter is in drive, sport or manual modes. The gearbox is a delight that snicks through its gears seamlessly and like greased lightning. Head into a corner, pull the paddle a couple of times and the box rev matches as the engine braking comes online. It sounds so seductively naughty, it becomes intoxicating. This car comes with Audi Drive Select. Now it allows you to choose comfort, auto, dynamic and individual. Now depending upon the mode you choose, it does different things to the car. Obviously if you're in comfort or auto, well, you're driving around town. If that twisty road beckons, you select dynamic. My favourite setting, however, proved to be individual. It allows you to set up a whole bunch of different things and to tailor the car to your tastes. That way it becomes your car and it really does work exceptionally well. The Quattro all-wheel drive system ensures the power is put down seamlessly. In this instance, the system puts 40% of the torque to the front wheels and the remainder to the rear. It can, however, send up to 70% to the front and 80% to the rear, or split it evenly front to rear, depending upon what's happening at the road surface. The system also puts Audi's sport differential to very good use. It adds torque vectoring to the basic ability. The outside rear wheel gets more power, which turns the car into a corner with less steering input, greater precision, and virtually no understeer. This S6 comes lavishly attired and you can load it up to your heart's content. In the case of this tester, well, beautiful 10-way power seats, lovely leather, great materials, and as for the options, well, the one that caught my eye was the Bang & Olufsen sound system. It puts 1400 watts through 19 different speakers. It is as loud and proud as the car itself. It's also costly, $6,500 plus the taxman's bit. Mind you, if there is a nit to pick with this car, it is that there's so much technology shoehorned into the cabin, well, it can get a bit bewildering. The S6 earns an adaptive suspension. The electronically controlled air suspension also features continuously adaptive damping. The combination delivers a very good balance thanks to the ability to tailor the ride according to the situation. Throw in the oversized 255/35 R20 tyres, Quattro's ability, and getting the S6 to misbehave, well, it's a tough task. It just hunkers down and obeys driver input with unerring accuracy.
In the end, it gave me one serious cheese-eating grin. Any car that goes from rest to 100k in 4.6 seconds and does the more important 80 to 120 passing move in 3.9 seconds, well, it tends to grab the driver's attention in a hurry. This car sure did. What's more remarkable, when it hits 120, it just does not ease up.
Did you know? Brought to you by Kia. Designed to inspire. Torture testing an engine on a dynamometer, a machine that replicates the work it would do in a car, is something all manufacturers do to prove a new engine. In Kia's case, all engines undergo this endurance test.
Once we've got our concept of the engine developed, we need to make sure that it also is going to be a very durable product. And so we run validation tests. And we have a specific schedule that I think is definitely probably the toughest in the industry. And what we do is we literally take the engine and run it on a dynamometer stand at full load, wide open throttle. So it's a maximum engine speed that the engine can operate on at the maximum load. So we're stressing the components as much as possible, and we run it virtually non-stop for 300 hours, other than just to make oil changes. It's neat to watch because the exhaust manifolds turn cherry red, and it just runs and runs until it meets that 300-hour spec. Once we have that attained, then we have an overrun spec, where we'll go ahead and run the engine depending on the application, either 10 or 20% overspec for another 10 hours to 20 hours, just to show that even when it's past its red line limit, it can still survive, to make sure that these products stay durable in the customer's hands.
What was remarkable about that engine, and I've seen more than my fair share as a mechanic over the years, was the fact that there was very, very little internal wear. In fact, it could quite easily have come out of a vehicle that was in service and been stripped down, and not come out of a torture chamber where it had been run for 300 hours at wide open throttle.
Heading down the back straightaway here, you feel this car going into 3 and 4 Sunset Speedway. It's hugging the corners like a loved one of the airport. You really feel the power. Very, very exciting car to be inside. We're gonna open this throttle up now down the back straightaway. This is awesome. This thing is fun to drive and fun to drive in.
I think the styling has really evolved for Chevrolet. We first saw this face on the likes of the restyle for the 2013 Traverse, but this is a vehicle that has really decided to own the styling. We see the homage to the rear fenders from cars like the 65 and the 66, but at the end of the day, this is a car that really is its own animal, and it's important to make a nod to your heritage, but it's also important to realize that you can't stay there.
The Motoring Tip of the Week is brought to you by Walmart. For everyday low prices on Pennzoil, conventional, and synthetic oils.
Our motoring tip of the week concerns cleaning your car.
Well, it's springtime, and that means spring cleaning, and it's probably not a bad time to get out in the driveway and have a look at the old car and see what winter did to the car and see if you can wash some of it away.
Throwback to Motoring 88, yeah, a lot's changed, but one thing that hasn't changed is the fact that we all know, whether there's scientific proof for it or not, a clean car sure seems to run a lot better. So if you're thinking about cleaning up your vehicle, you know, you're sitting in that drive-through car wash line and paying all that money, if the weather's good enough, you could probably be at home doing a much better job and enjoying taking that before and after transition, you know, your muddy, dirty car, SUV or truck, and finishing off with something really good looking, bright, shiny, clean. And like so many other jobs in life, if you have the right tool for the job, it makes the job a heck of a lot easier. So if, you know, we come down here to Walmart, we've got all these great wash mitts, microfiber products, nozzles, buckets, hoses, every tool that you could possibly think of for cleaning your car. And some of them will make your job much easier. For example, these brushes that go in the wheels to clean out the slots in your fancy aluminum rims makes cleaning the wheels a heck of a lot easier. And if you have a larger vehicle like an SUV, a pickup, or a van, buying one of these extendable brushes like this allows you to go into your wash bucket, soap it up, and get to the middle of the roof or do the whole roof of the vehicle without having to get up on a little step stool or ladder. And you know, when it's a little bit on the cool side in the spring or fall, you can actually do the whole car with this and you don't have to get your hands with the wash mitt right in the bucket of soapy water. But bottom line, we know that clean vehicle is going to run better. Pride of ownership, resale value, it's all good. Get out in the driveway and do it yourself, save the money, and do a better job. You'll really enjoy it. That's your motoring tip of the week.
The 2013 Jeep Wrangler. And what's new about it? Frankly, nothing. For over 70 years, a Jeep has been a Jeep. Off-road capability, four-wheel drive, and frankly, that's what owners want. But this is also the unlimited version, and specifically the Sahara trim package. And unlimited, in this case, means unlimited potential inside in the way of appointments and luxuries. When you buy a Jeep today, it does what it's supposed to do, but you don't have to suffer for it inside. When I say it doesn't make you suffer, what I mean is that compared to just 10 years ago, the new longer unlimited wheelbase gives you a softer, less twitchy ride. The new cabs are quieter, and the roofs don't leak. The Jeep Unlimited has 4 doors, a removable roof, is powered by the Pentastar V6 engine, and is loaded with standard comfort features. But today, a Jeep can also be a luxury car. This is what I'm talking about. We have everything that you would have in another car of this price point in terms of air conditioning, decent heating and ventilation, and leather seats with decent bolsters, premium sound system, as well as finished bezels, corners, nicely put together, full screen, navigation system, you name it, this truck has it. And while much in the Jeep doesn't change, and that's the way owners like it, such as the outboard spare rear tire, this really is fashion over function. It's in the way. It's in the way of the handle. I'm getting dirty. I have to open this to get inside. I can't open the glass unless, of course, I open the bottom. If I just want to throw a bag in here, why can't I just simply do that? Why do I have to go through this entire maneuver? Well, why? I'll tell you. Because this is what everybody wants. Now what do I do? So to get this thing closed, it's a 2-step procedure. Now I've got to open this. Not to mention, I've got my head stuck out into traffic. So finally got this open, trying to close this thing, and just imagine when this is dirty, okay? Your cuffs, your sleeves, everything is dirty. So again, fashion over function. Not real happy with that. After our little romp down in the mud, we're back up on pavement, and the truck is none the worse for wear. Needs a wash, but so what? That's a lot of fun, and that's the beauty of a Jeep. It's got that ability, and yet these days, the modern Jeep, the Unlimited, it has everything in it that you'd want in a modern car, and it's comfortable. So, 4-wheel drive ability, yet here on pavement, it doesn't make me suffer for it.
Closed captioning for Motoring 2013 is brought to you by
Greener, fuel efficient, global. This is Chevrolet Now, driving our world forward.
You know, one of the defining moments in my career as a safety crusader, if you like, was an article I read in Road and Track magazine about 1,000 years ago. It was about research that showed that most drivers drive at the speed the road was designed to be driven on, not according to some random number painted on a sign at the side of the road. Every part of this country has a place where a road doesn't change, but all of a sudden the speed limit drops, either from 100 to 80 or whatever. Does anybody slow down? No, because the road doesn't change. You want to slow people down? There's one way to do it. You dig a 1 foot wide, 1 foot deep ditch across the road every 100 meters, then they'll slow down. Well, of course you can't do that. But the thing that bothers me is that police are then assigned the task of going out and trying to enforce these artificial speed limits. I know we've talked about this before. I'll get back to that in a minute. So they're raising thousands and thousands of dollars, turning hundreds and hundreds of us into criminals. For what reason? They say it's for safety, but no, it's not. If most of the people are going at the natural speed of the road, the one guy who's obeying the speed limit, he's causing the problem, because that causes traffic to bunch up. If everybody's going the same speed, there's nobody to run into. So you know what? If you need the money, if that's what you really have to do is gather the money, well, you're always telling us to be honest citizens. Why don't you be honest with us? Tell us you're doing this to raise money, and maybe we'll stop complaining about it. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Subaru is hoping the new Forester will give new car buyers an emotional reason to buy a Subaru. Personally, I've always liked their vehicles, although like a lot of people, I've found them kind of boring. A lot like some of their owners that I hear wearing socks and sandals. Seriously though, this is the best Forester to date. I love the styling, especially the front end of that turbo. And speaking of the turbo, that's the one that I would pick. And no doubt, this car will bring new customers into the showroom. Another thing, I'm always whining about CVTs. The CVT on the new Forester works. Oh, and by the way, never drive a vehicle with sandals on, with or without socks. I'm just saying. Before we go, make sure you check us out at motoringtv.com and join us on Facebook. Get in on the conversation. We want to hear from you for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
There was no intention at that time to make it a car designed for anybody other than somebody that wanted to go back and revisit their past, but do it in a modern way. As it turned out, the car tended to polarize to a lot of ladies, which was fine with us.